Well, I am so excited. This is part of a new series that I'm starting of Sasha and Friends. And I'm opening up this wonderful ability that we have of doing shared interviews so that I can share with you, my beautiful community, talents and services and opportunities and new ways that other people do life to enrich where you're going, how you're getting there, why you're getting there, and how to get there even better with more fun. So today we have Janet. And Janet, could you pronounce your last name? I do not want to mispronounce it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. It's Janet Ickes.
Ickes. See, I would not have known that.
Most
Okay.
people do not. It's all good. Janet
This
works
is
just fine.
this is Janet Ickes, and Janet is in a program with me, a coaching program. We have a shared mentor in this program. And the reason that I wanted to have Janet brought to you is because she has a way of helping you go in a more conscious, deliberate, strategic, and freeing up time approach to one of the most important facets of being in business, and that is your money. How you track it, how you decide about it, how you build to strategize how to get more. Well, that would be my camp as well, but
Absolutely.
more strategizing how to make the most of what you've got and how to plan to get more and how to categorize it, how to mobilize it, how to compound it, the world of money, and how to really make it work for you in a much more conscious way. So, Janet, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this, why you love it, and what you think are the most important things for people to know about managing their money and tracking it. So those were three big whopper questions.
They sure were.
So I'm just going to sit back and let you go.
Well, thank you, Sasha. It is such a pleasure. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed and that we can be on this journey together because it takes a village, as I always say. It really, truly does. And one of the things that I've done is I was in corporate America for over 20 years. Never thought I was going to really leave corporate America, but guess what? Lord had other plans for me. And next thing I know, we get moved from Pennsylvania to North Carolina a little unexpectedly and very quickly. It took us about 8 weeks from start to finish, but it was over a year in planning. And, you often talk about intuition and how things and how getting connected with that. And in my world, a lot of it is, I have strong faith. And, all of a sudden, this opportunity presented itself. Literally, my husband had put his name on a list per se to be move to another place. He was a truck driver. He got an opportunity to do that. And it was a year and a half later. And he got the call and he's like, but I didn't do that seriously. He said, I did it as a joke because they said I wouldn't do it. I'm like, that's what you get. So we ended up, we had 24 hours to make a decision. And I'm like, well, things were actually starting to work. I really had no plans on moving. I had no intentions of moving, but you know what? Sometimes you just go when the opportunity presents itself. Just like in business, you just never know. So we walked away from corporate America. We got ourselves moved to North Carolina, and I ended up launching Excel with Me training and consulting. One of the things in corporate America that I always loved to do is put the puzzle pieces together. What do I mean by that? It seemed that being in accounting, I got all the accounts that didn't balance. Amazing how that works. And a lot of it was, as we're dealing with stuff, they knew that I would figure it out. And I think that's kind of what, and I've always been, let me put the puzzles together. Let me figure out how to get the systems in place. How can we make it easier? Not necessarily easier. How can we make it simpler? It's usually not easy, but it can be simple. And that's where my business has just grown and flourished, because what I found when I moved here to North Carolina is I didn't know anybody. I also do Mary Kay Cosmetics and have been a Mary Kay independent consultant for a long time. And I thought I would grow it into directorship. And the folks that I were networking with, I realized struggled when it came to money. Stuff that had been part of second nature to me, those numbers, knowing where their money was going, having a system that was simple so that they could focus on what they should be doing, not on trying to figure out where all the numbers were going, what they were doing, what they were telling them. And it's a different language in the accounting world, but it's something that I speak second language. I was in there for over 20 years. So I was able to then realize that what this opportunity was I got to share with growing entrepreneurs and business owners stuff that I enjoy doing that most do not. And that is understanding the numbers, getting that system in place to make sure those numbers tell the right story. They tell the story of what's going on. They tell you where things are not going right. They tell you where things are going right. And the more you understand that, just like with what you do, and I think that's why we've connected so much, is understanding that makes all the difference. Understanding what's going on, the big picture, allows you to step through the challenges as you go. So that's where Excel with Me was born. And it has always just been a blessing, and at one step at a time as I've gotten to meet various folks, and we get to share our gifts together. And that's kind of where it all started. I would have never thought about it, but my logo is a diamond, and a blue diamond at that. And I never understood why years and years ago that seed was planted. And this crazy little blue, how you do vision boards, and that's just something we had done. And all of a sudden, this crazy little blue diamond showed up. I'm like, where's that from? And that was probably about 10 years before Excel with Me was born.
Mm.
But the seeds had been planted, and I had no idea how it would unfold over. And we've been in now North Carolina for over 8 years, and it has just unfolded on an amazing journey as I've gotten to share the parts of my job in corporate that I like to do with entrepreneurs, and actually share those gifts together so they can focus on what is important with them, and they can do their strengths and then partner with me so that we can actually make sure the money's going along the way. Because guess what? Without the money, you don't stay in business too long. And it's crazy that 82% of folks have failed because they can't manage cash flow. They never got the foundation in place. So that's a lot of what I focus in on, is getting that foundation in place so that once you have a solid foundation, now you can figure out where do you want to take it. You can't hit the bullseye if you don't know where you're going.
Exactly. Now, what I'm wondering is, what can you tell people? And hearing the kinds of things that people say to you as to why that part of their business and maybe their personal life is a little bit out of control.
Sure.
What do you think is the misconception or what's missing for them?
A lot of it becomes numbers can get overwhelming because it's definitely a different mindset when you're thinking about it. And all of a sudden, when you get too overwhelmed with anything, we both know what happens. You don't do anything. And very often, it doesn't seem as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, because you're not understanding that 1 + 1 = 2. And that's okay, because strengths is not usually the numbers for most entrepreneurs. So what ends up happening is a lot of my business owners that I'm talking to, they intermingle funds all the time. That's one of the detriments that really causes a lot of grief. And one of the things I encourage business owners as they start out: separate your business and your personal funds. What does that mean? Two separate bank accounts is what that means. One that's used for business and one that's used for personal. Because if you don't do that, yes, you are the business owner. Yes, you are the personal. That's all intertwined, yes and no. But the only way you can truly understand how your business is doing is if it's separate in the respect when it comes to the numbers. And there's ways to do that. And you want to make sure you know how your business is doing. So I think what ends up happening and what trips a lot of folks up is it's too complicated, because there's so many little hats that you have to wear. It's hard to figure out which hat you got to focus in on. And it's hard, and it gets overwhelming. And so usually the last thing that you're thinking about, as long as you have enough money in the bank to do what you need to do, it doesn't matter. Whereas in my world, I'm like, no, it shouldn't matter what money's in the bank, because you should know where that's already spent. And how can we make this simple so that if you are inclined to say, hey, what's my bank balance? Is this going to make a difference? I don't want you to ever have to look at your bank balance technically on a daily basis. I want you to know what's going on. And I think when you have a system in place that can let you do that, and you're profit conscious and you can follow the steps, isn't it much easier to build a habit when you know what 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is? I think it makes quite a bit of a difference. And I think that's what trips a lot of folks up, because they know they got to get to 5, but they might have gone to 4 and 2 and 1 before they got to 5.
Mm,
And it's just because I didn't know any different, because the foundation wasn't in place.
mm. So regarding the foundation, other than separating out personal versus biz, what else do you feel would be some tips for people to start getting a hold of this, you know, getting a little bit more behind the steering wheel for their money tracking to be more conscious and more effective?
It's got to be deliberate and you got to track every penny. And that always flips people out. And they're
Yes.
like, what do you mean every penny? Yes, I mean every penny.
Wow.
And it is a challenge, but here's the way you can do that. Think about this. If you have a separate bank account and a separate debit card, shall we say, and if you always put the debit card when it's a business expense and you use your own personal account or your personal credit card, whatever, guess what? You've just started to make that tracking easier because that dedicated account, now everything that's business always goes through that account. So every time you spend any kind of money, if you're using a debit card, it's just like cash. I mean, yes, we have plastic. You always got to be a little cautious of this, but as money comes in and money goes out, if you are tracking that, start where you're at. You can start with a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be a software. Start with a spreadsheet. Start with pen and paper if that's what it takes. It worked in the past. It's not efficient, but you know what? Start where you're at and make sure you're tracking every single penny that's going in. That's the only way that you can tell what has happened to be able to forecast what's going to happen. Is you got to use the past to figure out the future.
Hmm. So what would be, other than emotional peace, let's say inner
Okay.
peace, what would you say are the benefits to a business owner when they really approach their money in this way?
When you actually know what the numbers are telling you, so you have a control on what money's coming in, coming out, you can now take advantage of opportunities.
Okay.
Whereas you really cannot do that if you're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the little adage goes, because you have no idea what's going on. You haven't done any proactive planning for those unexpected things that come up. I always kind of, like taxes, everybody gets all wound up in the States. If taxes come every April, whether we like it or not. The best way not to pay taxes is okay, don't be profitable. But if you're not profitable long term, you're also not in business long term. So by doing that, it's the only way you can grow your business. It's the only way that you're going to be stable in your business. It's the only way that you're going to scale your business is if you have a handle on your money. You've got to know what's coming in, what's going out, when it's going out, when it's coming in, and you need a system in place to do that. Because without it, you won't be in business. It's just a hobby, and the hobby's not going to last.
Right. Mm, 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 mm. So do you have anything to give the listeners that you feel is a good extension of what you're saying, where they feel empowered, they feel
Absolutely.
okay, good.
I will give you the money management tips, the strategies that I have. We'll have you go ahead and just put that into the chat when it comes in there and take advantage of it. It gives you different strategies that are available so that you can start today taking control of that money. And I'd love to offer that as a free gift. You can also find Discover the money guide, which is discover money you didn't even know that you had. It is right on my website. In fact, that's even the easiest place to probably find it. And that is at www.excelwithme, the numbers 123. So excelwithme123.com. And you can get your guide there that you can actually discover money that you didn't even know you had. And it's the strategies that you can start using today.
Beautiful. What is it that you hoped and hope that people will get out of listening to this?
I hope they get the willingness and the decision making that's necessary to take control of their money. Because if you don't control it, it will control you. And I always say, I always talk about budgets and all those other crazy things. A budget's just a 4-letter word. And people think I'm crazy. I'm like, no, it's just a 4-letter word. A budget is simply a plan. It's a plan for your money. It's a plan for your future. It's a plan to make sure that you are able to take advantage of opportunities, to take advantage of what is coming your way. When you do that, then it makes all the difference in your world. And that's what I want them to take, that it can be simple, it is possible, and it's vital if you want your business to succeed.
Beautiful. Well, Janet, what else should I ask you, I wonder? knowing that my community are people who are committed to being powerful by using powerful, effective, have more fun, have more magic by using their intuition, by using their discernment with the help of their spiritual guidance. How would you see my community particularly benefiting from what you're saying? If you do see a bit of a specialty there, because our focus, my community's focus, is to be the best that we can do and to be in a really good sense of having power that they direct. So what do you think about that?
I think when that comes to mind on there is we can't be I always kind of look, I always try to be a blessing to others. And as money's coming in, you can be more of a blessing to others. Let's face facts. When you have the finances under control and you have finances coming in, the more that you can give out. And that goes for anything, whatever your gift is, the more that you have, the more you can give. So I think that is where a lot of it is so that the more that you can get the control on that, the more that you can be of service to others, the more that you're going to be able to serve additional folks because additional opportunities are going to come your way. You're going to be able to service folks and heal and to guide and to help more people. The more successful your business becomes, the more service that you can do for more people.
Yes, very true. And what I would add to that, because that was so beautifully stated, is that when they have that sense of peace of mind,
Mhm.
their vibration rises.
Sure.
There is a higher frequency that they are emitting and that they have as their magnetic field to create what they want. And that in itself is worth the price of gold.
Absolutely.
All puns
Absolutely.
intended.
Absolutely. It's the only way we can be our highest self is
Yes,
doing this. And I
yes,
think that's why we've connected, because we have a passion and a desire to help folks become the best that they can be.
yes. And to use what is already there with the right tools. With
Exactly.
me, it's a sense of spiritual connection to download true power through the
Mhm.
human self. And with you, you are empowering them to use the resource that we must have here on the earth plane so that we have the freedom to do what we want to do, preferably when we want to do it,
Exactly.
preferably in the way that we want to do it, so that it is a life worth living.
You could not have said it any better.
Thank you. Well,
Absolutely.
on that
Thank you.
note,
Perfect.
yes, so I will say goodbye. And to my beautiful audience, please do look at Janet's material and really think about what she said. And sometimes it's just a matter, you know, changing behaviors, changing habits. What is it? It's one baby step at a time. And I'm sure you could reach out to Janet and she would help you.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Sasha.
You're welcome. Now I have to figure out how to stop this because it's new Zoom. Oh, there it is. Okay. New Zoom layout. Everybody, I wish you a blessed day. Thank you so much, Janet, for your time. I'm glad that it worked out so beautifully. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.